Hi everybody, this is a hopefully a quick video about how to set a cookie to differentiate roles in your game. The first thing you want to do is really make sure that you understand how you're organizing your files. You want to envision and organize your file structure. So what I've put together is a very quick demonstration that would include 3 interactions. An interaction at page 1, an interaction at page 2, and an interaction at page 3. We're not going to necessarily worry about pages 2 and 3 during this presentation because those are just illustrating the complexity that we can add if we had a second problem to answer, a third problem, or a fourth, or a fifth, or a sixth, or however many. But for the purposes of this, we're just going to work with the first one here. The other files that you see here are an index.html and a cookie-redirect.html. The index.html is at the highest level, and it should also be in any folder that is going to be need to differentiate the roles. So in this case, page 1, you would need to have the roles differentiated. Page 2, you'd have to have the roles differentiated. Page 3 doesn't, so you don't need the index.html there. The index.html is the file that actually holds the JavaScript that sets and reads the cookie and tells and gives the navigation instructions that tells the machine where to go and what to do. Before we get into the actual code, the other file here is a cookie-redirect. You don't have to worry about that. It needs to be in any folder where an index.html is because it helps to redirect to the appropriate role, but you don't make any modifications to it. You don't have to worry about it. Don't make any changes to that file at all. In fact, if you open it up, it doesn't look like anything. Alright, so let's actually get into the JavaScript and look at how to modify it. I'm going to open this with Dreamweaver, but you could actually open it with any text editor like SKEdit. Later. So you'll see what the file looks like. If you don't have access to Dreamweaver, you can go and get a SKEdit or any kind of text editor and modify this file. But I am going to open it in Dreamweaver, and so you'll see here I have on my left-hand side all of the code. On the right-hand side is what the viewer would actually see in there. All right. So what I've got this set up so it's got cryptologist instead of role 1. So we've got role 2, role 3, role 4. We want to change this to navigate to a role 1 rather than a cryptologist. There's 2 sections of this web page coding that you're going to modify, you're going to be dealing with. The first is the script itself, which is what tells this is what tells the computer where to go, what to do, those kinds of things. It's not actually presented to the viewer of the web page. It's just the meta information that helps to navigate to where the user wants to go. The second part is the actual body of the page itself. And so we'll get to this in a second. This is the information that's actually presented to the user and that they see on their screen and that they get to click on and those kinds of things. Now I know that this script, we'll start with this script looks daunting, but really all we have to worry about is the case information. Case and URL. Case, URL. And what this is telling is in the case that a cookie is set to a certain piece of information, bounce to this page, this URL. So if a cookie is set to cryptologist, it should bounce to page 1. That's in that folder, page 1, the first interaction, role 1. If it's set to role 2, it should bounce to page 1, role 2. Now let's see what this looks like in practice. We'll go into Safari, open this file, and here we go. This is the page. So if I click on cryptologist, this should go to page 1 / role1.html, which it does. Page 1 role1.html. Now the good thing about this cookie is if I go back to that index page, it's automatically reading that cookie and it's bouncing me to the right place. The bad thing is I don't have the ability to change my role if I want to. I have to actually get rid of the cookie to do that. But luckily it's not all that difficult to get rid of a cookie. So I've cleared my cache. I've now got the ability to choose role 2, which should take me to page 1 role2.html, and that's where it goes. All right. So we know that the script is working okay. We're going to reset Safari. There we go. But we want to make sure that this doesn't. We've changed the game and we no longer have cryptologist as a role. So we want to change the case of this to role 1. And that's all you do. You change the role, the case here, to whatever the cookie is going to be read as. That leads us to, and again, we want to make sure that you have a clear sense of the navigation of your files, because that's going to tell it where to go from there. Now, in the body part of the web page, the stuff that is actually presented to the player of the game or the viewer of the website, I know this looks daunting as well, but what you're going to be actually dealing with is the link itself, and that is this information, ahref. That's the code that tells the computer, hey, this is a link, we're going to do something and go somewhere. And what it's saying is link to index.html, and it's setting, and it said this on click, what it's doing is it's on click, it's setting a cookie to a role with this .name, which is the name information right there. So it's setting the cookie to this name. So we need to change the name information here to role 1. We obviously want this to read as role 1 as well, because that's the information that's actually clicked on here. This part is what's clicked on. This part is what is being told to the computer to do. So if we are correct, we've made a change to the name of our cookie in our body. We've changed the case to role, and it knows that in the case of role 1's cookie being set, this is where to go next. Now don't worry, because if there is no cookie set, then it just presents this page and allows them to choose their role. So let's go in and just show this. Oh, I don't have to do that again, but fine. So you see now, cryptologist is gone, role 1 is in its place. When I click on this, it should go to page 1, role1.html, which it does. There you go. And again, if I delete this, try to go back to the index page, it won't work because the cookie is set. The cookie itself here is designed to last an hour, a day. If you wanted to change that, then you would have to go in and modify some of these variables up here, which is a little bit more high-tech, and it normally doesn't need to be done. But the key is that it will expire automatically after a day, and if that does happen, then the students would just have to select their role again on their page here, and everything would be fine. The cookie would be reset. Now, The last thing I want to show is there's a difference between this index page and the index page that is inside page 1's folder. And so if it will look the same when we open it up, that's opening up in Firefox, we don't want that. It will look the same. Actually, let me just open it up in here. So the code pretty much looks the same. The only difference is that the URL that it's linking to is different. Inside the body of the page here, it's still linking to itself. It's linking to index.html, but the bounce itself is loading not into a subfolder, but right into this folder. So that's the only difference that you would find in the structure of this index and this index. All right? So hopefully this gives you a pretty clear idea of what needs to be modified in order to provide new roles. Now, there's no magic here about having 4 roles. You can have 2 roles, you can have 7. It just means you would keep adding information here. So if you wanted a 5th role, you would add role 5, role 5, and you would need to have another row. You need to have another row in your page. I'll add a row 5 and a row 6 so that the page looks appropriate. Row 6, row 6. So now we save this and we look over here and you now see that there's row 5 and row 6. However, if we go into Safari and load this file up, it will show row 5 and row 6, but they will give us an error message because there is no role 6.html in our page 1 folder. So you would need to have a page for it to bounce to, is what I'm saying. All right, so hopefully this gives you a pretty clear understanding of how to set the cookies on the file. On the page. This doesn't work very well in Google Sites. You kind of have to do it where you're hosting. So I could put this into my Dropbox folder, into my public Dropbox folder, and it would be completely open and available to the public. So that's one solution as far as hosting these files, because Google Sites doesn't really work well with JavaScript. I've tried to get it to work well and it just doesn't work very well.